Okay, well, anyway, should we, I think, so Yoni, I think had some questions.
Well,
We,
yeah, we had some issues this on Monday or something, but actually I wrote that one of the things that we are currently having issues is the scrubbing in one of the biggest clusters we have. So if you have any like ideas what tunables we should be adjusting.
what kind of hardware is it?
It's HP Apollos, like
Are they, are they,
24
are they
disk.
24 disk? And is the block.db on spinning disks
NVMe.
or on flash? On NVMe?
Yeah.
And is this very small objects or large objects or?
Well, it doesn't have any objects yet, but we have like test data about 25 petabytes or something. Written
Okay.
like from the Rados bench tool.
Okay. And how big are the files?
Uh, I'm guessing 4 or 8 meg objects.
Just so if it was the default Rados bench, then yeah, that's 4 MB objects probably.
Yeah. We have
So I don't think so.
Yeah.
At least on our clusters, we don't change the default tunables for scrubs and deep scrubs. But by default, it's supposed to be doing things in the background. However, if you have billions and billions of small objects, then maybe there are cases where the RocksDB can become really slow reading through and iterating through the objects in the RocksDB. That's why I was asking if that's related. But did you maybe write a bunch of objects, then delete a bunch of objects, then write more objects, then delete? Like, is it possible that there's quite a lot of deleted objects in the?
I don't think so. We wrote it like without deleting those objects. So basically filling the cluster with test data for testing several scenarios.
Okay. So it's not
So
this
we filled it with approximately like 70%. We started to have this issue that it's complaining that deep scrub and scrub not getting like done in time.
Oh, I see. That's the issue.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, that's like a non-issue. I thought that you were meaning that maybe the cluster is getting overloaded or something like that.
No.
No, it's just that by default, you'll get those warnings if Ceph cannot scrub all of the objects every day and cannot deep scrub all of the objects every week. But those defaults, honestly, they don't make sense for for a full disk. If it's like a 16 terabyte disk, it's simply impossible to deep scrub all of the objects once a week. So yeah, you can just there's a tunable to wait longer to complain after a longer amount of time. Have you seen these options?
Yeah, we had this email conversation with Pietari, I think. Pietari sent you some email about
it. Yeah. Okay, so I did already respond to that. Okay. Yeah. It's completely safe. It's not. Honestly, that warning is. Yeah, probably we should have some better default.
As disk drives go up, it makes sense to increase that a bit.
Yeah, so I'm just going to check what is the default.
I think it's a week.
It's a week for the...
I feel like it. I've been seeing these often on my cluster ever since I started putting in 16 terabyte disks.
Yeah.
They usually clear themselves within a few days, but even I've been seeing those.
Yeah, we have, I think, 14 terabyte disks, like 3,000 of them. So
yeah.
it's way behind the schedule. But it's fine if we just change the monitor like threshold for the complaint.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
One thing
can
to
you,
watch out for is if like you're using any RAID controllers, like they might be doing, I know Dell calls it like patrol reads, where it does a consistency check on the whole disk. Like that'll slow down that whole disk and I/O or scrubs or anything for quite a while on large disks. Maybe that could be a contributing factor to why it's slowing down.
Yeah. We'll have to check that out.
but
Yeah.
which warning are you getting? Is it deep scrub or is it scrub? Do you remember?
We have both currently.
Both. Okay.
So after we tune the thresholds, we have like about 200 PGs, not deep scrub and scrub in time. Before the tunables, we had like half of the PGs, like 6,000 of them.
Yeah.
Can there be a code logic implemented in place where if the PGs are larger in size and based on the disk size, the defaults can be adjusted accordingly and increased?
Yeah, I'm thinking about creating a tracker for this so that, I mean, if we do the math to deep scrub every object in a disk in 1 week, what would be the megabytes per second that would be needed to do that? I guess you have to also like multiply it by the replication count as well to count the amount of. I don't know. I think we can justify through like the data rate to see how often it would take to deep scrub, say, a 20 terabyte disk, which is becoming the normal now. I would say 20 terabyte is, at least this year or next year, is what people will have mostly. And then we can set the default accordingly. Maybe the default should be 2 weeks instead of 1 week or 3 weeks. But then, yeah, what you just suggested, maybe it can look at it can be a function of the size of the OSD, of the crush weight of the OSD. Would also be useful.
Yes, so workload should definitely come into play here where, at least from the code, it should be, I mean, users shouldn't have to bother about these, and from the Ceph code itself, it could be taken care of if we implement the math and the logic in place in Ceph
The
itself.
thing is, yeah, so it's also workload related.
Yeah.
Because long ago we had a cluster that was 6 terabyte drives, but the workload was such that deep scrubs couldn't be guaranteed more often than once per 2 months. But you would never have calculated that from the 6 terabyte drives, but because the drives were so busy with client I/O, they didn't have IOPS for scrubbing. I don't know, maybe the approach is not. Maybe the whole approach of just alarming based on some function like this is not good. Maybe it should just be checking that it's not stalled for some reason, that the scrubbing should be progressing, and it shouldn't be stalling. I don't know. We can open a ticket and see with the Rados team if they have a better suggestion.
Yeah. I tried to find some documentation about the different tunables for deep scrubbing and scrubbing, but most of the tunables are like per OSD, so you can't change the one moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not necessarily easy to solve once you get into the client I/O and taking everything into account.
Yeah, I think a lot of factors would come into play here.
Yeah, disk type, I/O load, everything.
I guess it's more about the usage of the OSD, not the size. Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course, because you want to scrub more often while there's few data, and and less often when.
The PGs would also be increased in size, so if we could have more PGs, I mean, definitely PG count would play a role, right? Because if the data is more, I mean, even a even time to scrub a large PG would definitely take a lot of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But the number of objects scrubbed per second across the cluster should not change as if you change the number of PGs. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
However, now I'm remembering, if you have an erasure coded, if you have like wide EC pools, they lock more OSDs. So if you have, like, if each OSD can only do one scrub at a time, then like a three replica pool can be scrubbed twice as fast as a 4+2 erasure coded pool, because the 4+2 is it's locking 6 OSDs, and the replica 3 is 3 OSDs. So it's also the PG size, not count.
Yeah.
Not num, not PG num. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I can pass this up to Neha.
Yeah. See what she thinks about it.
Okay. But I mean, Yoni, what I was saying is that in practice, you just increase the ratios. That's what most people are doing now, I would say. If you get the warning, just increase the ratio and increase the ratio for scrubbed and deep scrubbed until you stop getting the warning.
Yeah.
Voila.
I'll have to try that.
It doesn't
We
hurt
have
anything.
increased the deep scrub interval to 2 weeks, I think. Or it should be like 2-week window, but it doesn't make much of the difference.
The interval, we never change the interval, because what that does is it slows down how often it starts the scrubs as well.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really make sense. I think we want to keep scrubbing going, like have a backlog of scrubbing, but you just want to warn later.
Yeah.
And that's setting that ratio just tunes the warning to be postponed.
Yeah, that was what I was saying earlier, that when I was trying to find documentation about the different tunables, there is a lot of black magic that happens in the deep
definitely.
scrubbing. There isn't a lot of options to change these, like deep scrubbing, parallel deep scrubbing, where you have tunables for changing how much one OSD is doing their job, but you can't change the amount of work that you could do parallel.
Yeah.
Maybe write a script to find out from PG dump which PGs are not scrubbed, and we can get the timestamp right when were they last scrubbed from the PG dump and run a deep scrub manually on them.
Yeah. I have a script for that. There's a script in the Ceph scripts thingies. There's a thing that orders the PGs by their last scrub time and forces a scrub on them. But I don't think it's needed that much. I don't know. We don't use it anymore. We just increase that ratio, and then we forgot about the whole problem. You can also set that. You can also set the scrub intervals on a per pool basis, but personally, we haven't seen a use case for that. Okay.
All right. Other topics I just tossed in the pad was like, there's some Quincy hit. I don't know if anybody's even tried that one yet, but for releases, I wanted to talk about it. Octopus is hitting end of life here.
Yeah, there's a new Octopus release that will be coming out. There'll be one more Octopus release.
Is there? Okay.
Yeah. It's relevant. So we're still running Octopus. We're starting to upgrade to Pacific, our clusters. But Octopus is the last Ceph release that will support CentOS 7. And that isn't a problem for our Ceph servers, but we have OpenStack hypervisors that are running CentOS 7. So we won't be able to upgrade like librd beyond Octopus until they can upgrade the OS of our, I don't know, 10,000 hypervisors or whatever.
That's a bit of work.
Yep.
Yeah, we are still running Nautilus, the last version of Nautilus, in most of our production.
Ah.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why aren't you upgrading to Octopus or Pacific?
Well, the most biggest reason I think is that we don't have time to do it, as we are bringing bigger and bigger clusters production. After the big cluster it's coming in Pacific, I think. We will run it in Pacific. We haven't tested Quincy yet, but after that is in production. I hope that we can upgrade from Nautilus to Pacific, I think. So we would be skipping Octopus.
Okay. But this test cluster that you mentioned before with I can't remember, 20 petabytes of test data, is that Pacific or is that also Nautilus?
It's Pacific. So
okay. Yeah. Okay.
we are
Cool.
basically doing pre-production testing.
Yeah.
Okay.
With it.
Yeah, I know for me, I have some OS updates to do before I go beyond Octopus these days. Hopefully before the end of the year, is my goal at least for the getting on Pacific.
Yeah. Which OS did you prefer after CentOS went to the Stream version?
I think I'm going to start switching to Rocky Linux for stuff. I'm doing the CentOS Stream 8 right now, but I think I'm going to slowly go to Rocky.
Yeah.
Got to find a time to set up those kickstarts and everything. The one thing I saw in Quincy that was very sad for me, and probably about the only person, was that file storage being deprecated. So, last person that affects on the planet, probably.
Yeah, not just file store, but also level DB. So
Yeah.
If you have old clusters, even the MonDB won't load, I guess.
Yeah, I saw that as well. Didn't they do like a background upgrade on that to RocksDB a couple versions ago, where they mostly forced everybody to do that conversion?
Yeah, my memory's vague. I know that we changed to RocksDB, but I thought that we did it by deleting the MonDB directory and redeploying them on, like resyncing them on.
Yeah,
But maybe if people had Ceph deploy or Ceph ADM, it happened automatically.
maybe. I thought somewhere it was done automatically, or maybe I'm remembering wrong. I redeployed my mons at some point too, so I know those are fine. Yeah.
Oh, the wonders of working from home.
Yeah. Probably gonna have to kick my team into gear and get us on Blue Star one of these days.
Yeah, probably. It's really better. It's like much better. You should.
Yeah, I know.
Highly recommended.
A lot of work. We've got to redo a few things. It's really not too complicated on our custom software side, but it's moving a lot of data and then rebuilding an entire 1200 OSD cluster to blue stores.
But you should tie it. I mean, you should. I imagine you're replacing the hardware sometime soon, no?
Not really. We just kind of, our funding works where we just kind of add a few servers and remove a few servers at a time. So we never do any really big, like, oh, we're going to add 5 petabytes at a time and remove an old 5 petabytes. It's very like, all right, half a petabyte at a time gets replaced.
I see.
And I can't run the mixed, unless I start splitting the pools and saying you can't run on the new hardware, I can't run mixed blue store and file store because it's just one massive pool generally. It'll hate some of our objects. I think what I'll end up doing is either put those files that are too big, since we're using the libRados, if you don't recall, and put those on the gateway or StephFS, and then all the other data sets will live on continuing libRados. Probably the plan.
Okay. Cephalocon stuff?
Yeah. I'll be there. You think you'll make it?
I'll be there.
Cool.
I'm just reading about. I just noticed the Kube COVID hashtag on Twitter.
I haven't even seen that one. Yeah, well, I know we got there's a Birds of a Feather session for our science group.
Yep.
I think on the evening of the first day or something. So hopefully we get a decent turnout there and see what happens.
Sadly, I can't join the Cephalocon this time, but maybe next time.
Yeah, hopefully.
You can also register virtually. I think something like 1/3 of the people. Oh, I don't know the latest numbers, but there's a significant virtual attendance.
Okay, I have to check that.
I'm planning to present virtually as well. Couldn't get a.
Okay.
Was a problem. Yeah. But anyway, just had a quick question. How many of you in the users group are using centralized logging of some sort of a way for Ceph?
I have plans for it.
We use Elasticsearch for S3 logs, but we don't use but not for Ceph itself right now. Although we have a plan, we have one student that's testing Loki to push all the logs centrally. But this is not yet production.
Module which was merged in the master recently. I was researching with one of the dashboard engineers. So centralized logging with Loki and Promptail is merged in the master.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah. We were researching between Loki, Promptail in Elasticsearch, and even Greylog, because Greylog in Ceph Greylog is implemented natively by default, but Greylog has some issues like you have to statically configure everything. So, but out of the whole decision, Loki and Promptail were chosen since Grafana is used already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'm not using Loki with Ceph. I'm using it in my Kubernetes clusters, and I'm really liking it a bit more than the Elasticsearch and Kibana. I've been thinking about streaming like Ceph logs and everything else in the Loki too. The nice thing is you can just point it at the Rados Gateway S3 backend for its storage interface for all the logs.
So this Loki, I'm looking at that Loki PR. Did that make it into Quincy?
I'm not sure if that made it into Quincy or not. Need to check with probably
Oh,
Mike.
oh, they have actually tagged it for backport to Pacific even for backport to.
Yeah, I
It's
remember.
it's all to do still. Nothing's been merged yet. Okay, cool. Yeah, that might be useful.
Yeah, from a user standpoint, I thought when the clusters can be as huge as possible, right? We could have logs in one place. We can do a pattern-based searching for it would be a one-stop search, right, for the logs, and
Yeah,
troubleshooting could be much more easier from a
absolutely,
user standpoint.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, looking forward to present about that in Cephalogon.
Great.
Yeah, that sounds great. It seems like that's a lot of the way this features and stuff have been going lately is more easy usability of everything, the dashboard, if you're going to do Loki and logs as well. Ease of cluster management, big focus past year or two. Adam in the chat mentioned you wanted to say something about a CephFS issue, so feel free to unmute and speak up.
Hello, yeah, it's quite a weird one. We have a Power 9 node running some flavor of Red Hat on Power 9, which was perfectly fine with the kernel client for CephFS until recently when the performance has really turned abysmal. And I'm a bit perplexed because other clients are fine. So I think the service itself is basically okay. And I see lots of messages about sockets. Put one in the chat. Lots of messages like that. Sort of every few seconds when you're trying to do something with the mount. So I was running an FIO test earlier today, and in comparison to another node where it took the expected 5 minutes, it was predicted to take like 2.5 hours.
Ooh.
They're really, really, really bad. And I don't really know where to start because other nodes are connecting perfectly.
But that's your only Power 9 node, or the other Power 9 nodes are fine and that one's not?
This is the only one.
Hmm.
You could say don't use Power 9, and
I just know that there were no, but I've seen in GitHub various fixes related to Power because it's like I don't remember which one. It's like it's the other endian from x86. So some of the buffer encodings were not done in a endian agnostic way.
Yeah.
So there have been fixes like that. Could that be causing this? Ooh.
But it doesn't. I've not upgraded the kernel. There hasn't been a kernel upgrade for quite a while. I don't think there's been any Ceph-related upgrade on the repos that are available for it in quite a while. So it's why it's suddenly changed is perplexing.
Oh.
Yeah, has anything changed in the cluster, like the overall size or stuff like that?
No.
You happen to have firewall on the client? Because that has been like in the past, many of our issues have been like firewall related on the client side.
I'll check that, but I don't think I would have got it working at all. I mean, it's been working for 18 months, quite happily.
Okay.
I guess nothing is.
It stays after
Sorry, go ahead.
after rebooting it. It stays. I mean, that I'm also thinking.
I did try that, yeah, and didn't make any difference.
Check maybe the. Can you check for like TCP errors, TCP retransmits? Like maybe there's something wrong on the network interface. Maybe it's not related to power at all. Maybe it's. I've seen this in the past. Yeah, basically broken network interfaces that sort of work, but everything slows down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
SFP.
flaky. Flaky SFP sometimes. Like
That's
that.
a good point. Yeah, it's using a Mellanox card, but so maybe one of those extremely heavy cables has been slightly nudged.
Possible.
Yeah, that's a good point. Can't see loads of errors or anything.
Yeah, the suddenness and lack of changes makes this.
Yeah, okay. I was hoping someone would say, you've missed this really obvious thing.
It's most probably would be some like very simple. That could be.
But so just to be clear, like those kind of like socket closed messages from OSDs, those I only see those like when we upgrade a CephFS and we restart OSDs, then the kernel clients show that message. So it's like we are restarting. When you restart an OSD, it'll show up in the kernel client with a message like that the socket's closed. But in your case, you're not restarting the OSDs, so it means that somehow the connection's getting interrupted, and like Ceph, maybe the OSD side, maybe try to get logs on the OSD side, although you probably have hundreds of OSDs. Look at logs on the OSD side, see. It might say there might be, if there's CRC errors or something weird like that, maybe you'll find something from the OSD side.
Yeah, it must be networking somehow.
I've seen something in one of our custom apps where we were hitting like view limits for open files, sockets, but you would probably see a error more regarding that. That was the case in this. The kernel would definitely complain about too many open files for your users.
Yeah, it's not seen anything like that.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not it then.
Thanks anyway. Yeah, regarding Cephalocon, I was very keen to go, but the flight was going to be $1,200. I thought I can't really justify that.
Well, hopefully you can join virtual and.
Yeah, I'll definitely join virtual.
Dan, do you know if they're doing like virtual part for like the Birds of a Feather session for like ours, or not sure how that would work? You're supposed to pre-record your stuff if you're presenting to do it virtually. And
yeah, I can ask. I'm not sure how that's going to work.
Yeah, in a month. All right. Anything else we want to talk about, or that cover it for today? Maybe I'll join at 9 a.m. tomorrow to see if people are confused and still joining tomorrow for the meeting. See.
Yeah, I won't be able to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A handful of people said Tuesday would work for them, but could just be bad luck this month with people that not too many joining.
Yeah, I actually got this invite from Pietari, so I seem to be missing from the mailing list.
Oh, sure. If you want, I send it to the Ceph users, and then I also send it to like a private mailing list of people who've joined. So as long as your email is in the sign-in section of the that pad, I'll add you to the private list so that you'll get a separate email that's just a group of us who've been to these before and usually frequent them.
I will add my email.
Cool, thank you. All right, well, if that's that, thanks for joining, and maybe we'll see some talks from you all at CephACon or join virtually or be there if you can.
Yep. Have a nice day.
You too.
Around.
See ya.
All right.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.